Hi, welcome to the PC store. How can I help you? Yeah, I sorta kinda blasted a keyboard through my computer, and I need a new one. Can you help me out with that? Yeah, sure thing, sir. Do you know what kind of parts you were looking for that computer? Parts? No, what exactly do I need? So starting off, you're going to need a CPU, which is basically the powerhouse of the motherboard. And you're going to need a motherboard and maybe 64 gigs of RAM and a pretty beefy graphics card. You're going to need a case, cables, power supply. You're going to need extensions, you're going to need lights, a lot of lights, and you're going to need a really huge fan that you're probably never going to use again. You're also going to need a lifetime subscription to an antivirus, Xbox Game Pass, an insurmountable quantity of bloatware. You're also going to need a few viruses, a Trojan horse, a mouse and keyboard, a 244Hz gaming monitor that you'll probably never experience 244 hertz of magnum opus in front of you, and maybe a 120 gigabyte hard drive that is also probably never going to be used because you probably didn't install it right, and another 128 gigabyte RAM with 6,000 megahertz of speed that you're also probably not gonna... You know what? I think I'll pass. It's fine. Oh, are you sure? Are you sure? Yeah. Are you positive? I'm positive. Yep. Thank you for your help. Well, it's a good thing that we made a computer for you, so you don't have to go through what this poor man went through. This sounded a lot better in my... Hi, I'm Ed the Head Builder, and welcome to AGXStorm Systems, where we struggle to build your computer so that you don't have to. Slogan pending. So now, without any further interruption, let's go over this monster of a computer we've put together for you today. The CPU we went with for this build is an AMD Ryzen 5 Base 5600, which is a 6-core, 12-thread CPU with a base clock of 3.5 GHz and a max clock of 4.4 GHz, making this CPU a really good choice for mid-range PCs. Next up, we went with the Team Group T-Force Vulcan Z DDR4 32GB RAM kit for our RAM. There's nothing special about these, it's just two generic pieces of RAM, sticks of RAM, I should say. They don't have any RGB, so you don't have to change any lights for this in particular. But it runs good, it runs fast, and these are pretty good RAM sticks. Next up, we have the Solidigm P41 Plus 1TB M.2 SSD. With speeds up to 4100 megabytes a second, you can't go wrong with one of these. GPU we'll be working with is a Zotac Gaming GeForce RTX 4060 Ti with 8 gigs of VRAM and twin-edge fans. This is powered by NVIDIA's DLSS 3 and the ultra-efficient Ada Lovelace ARC, with full ray tracing supported. This GPU also has a compact 2.2 slot footprint, Spectra RGB lighting, and a sick metal backplate. The motherboard we're going to be putting everything together in is an MSI Pro VDH B550M AM4 motherboard with Wi-Fi included. It's a motherboard, it has a Wi-Fi card, and some antennas, so you pretty much get the basic necessities. Not to mention the RGB headers that are also present on this board. Finally, the other important parts we'll be using for this build is an EVGA Supernova 650 GT 650 watt PSU, easy DIY fab PSU with cable extensions. The case is going to be a Lian Li LANCool 205M mesh, which is an M-ATX mid-tower case. And the CPU cooler is going to be a Thermalright Assassin X Refined SE with an Arctic P12 PWM 120mm case fan for the extra exhaust and airflow. Take this out carefully. Set it down. Actually, we're going to set it down on its own anti-static bag. And boom, there we go. So for those of you who don't know, this is your AMD AM4 socket. So what you want to do is you want to treat this as if you had just had a newborn baby.
Well, let me have a rule and a saw and a board and I'll cut it. I'll climb up a ladder with a hammer and a nail and I'll nail it. Well, we worked so hard to build a little house together. In the snow or the rain or the ice cold wind, whenever. No matter what the weather, we're together. Let me have a rule and a saw and a board and I'll cut. Climb up a ladder with a hammer and a nail and I'll nail it. Well, we worked so hard.
Are 3 tubes of
I think now is when we have to put the tripod.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to do that. Here's the case we're going to be working with. It is a Lee & LandCool 205 M mesh, which is the MATX form factor of the regular 205 mesh. Any comments?
No.
We're gonna
Yeah.
get it open.
Got in store for her man, so we know that
that, the computer's finished. So we got our little handy dandy configuration here so we can finally test it out and see if it runs. So would you like to do the honors to flip the
Kind of
switch?
scared, bro.
Might explode, careful. Did you
Oh,
flip
wait,
on
I
the
need to flip it,
PS?
bro. Look at that.
Yeah. Awesome. It looks
It
good.
looks really good. Actually,
Did I plug it into the monitor?
I think the monitor went to sleep. Or did you plug it into?
Pretty
No,
sure
I don't
it's-
think you. Did you?
It
Yeah,
should
you
be.
did.
Why isn't the monitor turning on then? Oh, I guess it is first boot.
It's good though. Look at it.
Yeah.
That's actually
It's
kind
actually
of sick nasty.
on. Maybe it's on the
I
wrong
think-
input.
Yeah, I was like that, or it fell asleep. It said it was going to sleep. So
Oh. I saw the keyboard go
first
off.
sign of life.
No, don't go to sleep. What the fuck? This goddamn monitor. This is why I upgraded my monitor. Oh, there we go.
We got
We
it.
posted and we're in BIOS.
We
Let's
got-
fucking go. All right.
Ryzen 5 56. Oh wait, this bad boy's not
Oh
on.
yeah, it's working. All right. Time to figure out which one of these is a Windows 11 boot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took us about maybe half an hour to about an hour until we realized that both of my installation medias were corrupt. Thank you, Microsoft. Let's say hypothetically, both of these USB drives are not doing their jobs. So what we gotta do pretty much is we gotta go in, we gotta find our little media installation. We're gonna wipe these clean and see how we do from there. And so there I was, patiently waiting for my installation medias to be created. And then all of a sudden, I got this error from the actual creator, the media creation tool. And I was pretty bamboozled at that point. So I just went ahead to the Microsoft website, and it turned out they updated the media creation tools. So I had to get another one. So I had to pretty much make a completely brand new media creation tool entirely. So on the bright side, we got it up and running. Yeah, baby. Papa's eating on Mondays. Oh, shit. So because we installed Windows 11 Home Edition onto this PC, we got into this little roadblock on the out-of-box experience setup menu, where we were pretty much prevented from continuing without connecting to the internet. Now, thankfully, I know this neat little trick that'll help people avoid this problem when you first set up your computer. What you're gonna wanna do is that when you're at this screen, you're gonna wanna hit Shift and F10, and that's when the command prompt opens. Then, you go in and you type OOBE/bypass NRO without any spaces. Then the computer's gonna restart and it's gonna skip that entire portion completely. That way you can go in and install the drivers you need yourself or just connect to the whatever network you need to. Hi.
Hi.
Getting things ready for you. We did it! It's working. Alright, now I need the other USB stick. Pretty much the next thing we did after we got everything set up and we finished with the out-of-box experience is we installed all the drivers. Now, I recommend that you have your own little USB flash drive with all the drivers already on it, so that way you just plug it in and you install them all straight up. Now, when we package this PC up, we always put it at a point where the buyer has to complete the out-of-box experience so that none of our information and none of our data and programs stay there left behind. So, of course, if any of those drivers are deleted, we are going to be including a little USB stick with them already in there and ready to install. So all you have to do is plug it in, go into your File Explorer, and install them yourself. Now, some of these are going to ask you to restart the PC, but just refuse to do so until you have all of them installed, so that way when you restart the computer, you can just do it all in one fell swoop. Now, for the moment everyone's been waiting for, how did this PC configuration hold up? So now, pretty much the first thing we did after setting everything up and making sure all of the drivers were installed was we booted up 3D Mark and we had it run some benchmarks. The first test we ran on 3D Mark was the Speedway test that checks out the performance with DirectX 12 Ultimate, which this graphics card could easily handle. We ran it for a while, and it took quite a bit, so I just stepped away for a second while it was running, and these were the results. As you can see, this test showed that it got a great score with a whopping 3225, which is really good for this kind of graphics card. It estimates that it can run Battlefield 5 at 1440 Ultra at 105 plus frames per second, so really good stuff there. Next, we ran the CPU profile test that 3D Mark also provided. The purpose of this test is to show how the CPU performs with the number of cores and threads being used, and there's 5 different tests. The max threads test, the 16 threads test, 8 threads, 4 threads and 2 threads, and 1 thread. Like before, I left the CPU to do its work and come back when it was finished. And wouldn't you know it, it finished relatively quickly. Here are the results. For max threads, it got a score of 5431, 16 threads got a score of 5683, 8 threads got a score of 5155, 4 threads got a score of 3377, 2 threads got a score of 1766, and 1 thread got a score of 887. Some notable achievements that this PC got while doing its benchmarks, one of them being Hydra, which was to submit a score with the system with 12 or more logical CPU cores, keep a cool head where the CPU temperature was below 55 degrees Celsius during the CPU profile benchmark, and the great achievement, which was just to achieve a great score for the hardware. Now, of course, we also ran Cinebench 2024 on this rig, with the GPU score reaching a whopping 11,463 points, the CPU multi-core reaching 614 points, the CPU single core reaching only 88 points, and the MP ratio being 6.96. Enough with the tech numbers. How does it do with actual games? Well, funny you should ask, because we actually tested it with multiple different games. So let's start off with the finals. For this test, I decided to put all the settings onto the Epic preset. I turned on DLSS and DLSS frame generation, I disabled VSync, and I made sure that motion blur and RTX global illumination was set to dynamic epic. I started off by playing a match of Quick Cash in the finals, and I looked over at the top left corner of the screen where MSI Afterburner was running, and I noticed that the frame rate went from 190 to about 210 frames a second consistently. So this was already powering through the immense and insane graphics of Unreal Engine 5. Now, of course, this was only the beginning of the match, so I decided I tried getting into some real gunfights so we could actually see how this GPU can handle that. And I gotta say, from first-hand experience, it looks amazing. Now, you can't really tell from this monitor because it's not a very good monitor, but it looked amazing. The gameplay was smooth, it was very responsive. I honestly gotta say, it was impressive. I went on with the match as smoothly as it could have went. And I gotta say, there were absolutely no frame drops. It went with a consistent 190 to 210 frames a second. And I gotta say, for a 4060 Ti on Unreal Engine 5, that is impressive. The next game on the list was Apex Legends. Now, I know that this game is, on the older side, around the same age as Fortnite, but a lot of people still play it, so I thought might as well just try it and download it and see how it does. Now for this test, I went through the settings once again, and I made sure that VSync was turned off, motion blur was turned off, and that all of the settings were at their highest possible preset. Now, I also enabled NVIDIA Reflex, and I set it as enabled plus boost, so we'll see how it does with that kind of performance. Now, I started off my first match by playing Gun Run, as it was in rotation at the time, and it's usually in like a very specific spot on one of the maps, and in this case it was Zeus Station. So looking at all the bright colors, I thought this was the perfect spot to do this test here. I'll be honest, I wasn't doing very well in this game, mainly because I'm not good at Apex Legends, so I had a bit of a struggle, but looking at the FPS, it went from about maybe an average of 120 to 150 frames a second, so it's still really good for a game of this caliber, so no complaints here. I didn't get any significant frame drops, only when loading in and out of the map itself and loading in and out of the matches, but that's understandable because this is a multiplayer game. The computer does have to catch up with the other players. My next match in Apex was obviously a Battle Royale match, and looking at how it loads the map, you can tell that there hasn't even been a dent on the FPS, which is really, really good for this sort of game, especially for the Battle Royale scene. The fact that the frame rate has not even taken a dent from loading in this entire map at once is just impressive, and it really shows the capabilities of this graphics card. I ended up dying early on in this match, so I decided to just go for one more round and see how well I do, as well as see if I can use this character's drone for performance testing. I don't know. something along those lines. And as you can see, it's still going strong. Man, this 4060 Ti can really pack a punch. Can pretty much run anything from Apex to the finals with complete ease. Next, I decided to test Persona 4 Golden just for shits and giggles, pretty much. Yeah, no, the 4060 Ti plowed through that ridiculously easily. I set all the settings to high and made sure that VSync was off, even though it's capped at a default setting. So I decided to just set the cap to as high as it could possibly go, which was 120 frames a second. No, it stayed at 120 frames the entire time. Now, I know what most of you are going to say. Why didn't you just test it with Persona 5 Royal or Persona 5 Strikers? I don't have either of those games on my Steam library. I have Persona 5 Royal for Xbox, and you can just use Xbox Play Anywhere to use it. But unfortunately, I don't feel like putting in my personal Microsoft account onto this computer just to play Persona 5 Royal. So Persona 4 Golden's all you're gonna get. But maybe in a future build where Persona 3 Reload is already out, I will more than likely just use that one as a baseline instead of Persona 4 Golden. Alright, only 3 more games to go, and right now it's WWE 2K23. Now, just like all the other tests, I went into the settings, I made sure they were all on high, and I put myself in one of the more populated arenas with a no-holds-barred match at SummerSlam 2022. The match itself is a WWE Championship match with John Cena and Roman Reigns, and then we got it all started. And so the match got started. I just want to point out that for some reason in this game, they decided to cap all of the entrances at 30 frames a second. So if you look at the top left corner of the screen, that's why it's only at 30 frames a second. It's not anything on the computer's end, it's just the game. We tussled for a while. I started getting my ass kicked by Roman Reigns, which wasn't fun. but it is what it is. I kept at it. The frame rate increased from 30 to 60, and it just stayed at 60 the entire time. There was nothing else that was going on besides that. The frame rate just stood at a solid 60 frames a second the entire match, only until the victory animation kicked in.
There's two now!
It doesn't matter if the Lord comes to
The good thing about WWE 2K23 is that it has its own benchmarking mode, which I don't know why, but it doesn't seem very accurate. As you can see, I'm running MSI Afterburner on the top left corner of the screen still, and yet the frame rate on the benchmark is over 161 frames a second. Well, Afterburner is only reporting 60 frames consistently. I don't know what the deal was. I know I had VSync off, but it was just strange to me. After the benchmarking cycle in this game's mode, it went back to the main menu and it just showed a little square with the minimum, average, and the 1% low frame rate, as well as like the maximum. And it did pretty well. I mean, it says it got performance rank A, so I guess that means something good, even though MSI Afterburner is clearly indicating that it's running at a max of 60 frames a second. So who knows who you I don't know who to believe here. I think I'm gonna have to go with MSI Afterburner though. Now we have Overwatch 2, a popular multiplayer shooter game that like I was trying to say, the next game is Overwatch 2, a popular online multiplayer first-person shooter. There. Are you happy, Overwatch? Are you happy, Activision Blizzard? I did it! Once again, much like before, I go into the settings, make sure all of the presets are set to Ultra or Epic or however they decide to scale it here. I make sure VSync is off, I make sure frame generation is on, DLSS is on, I make sure all of it is on so that we get the most out of this graphics card. Nothing could possibly go wrong at this point. God damn! Troubleshooting aside, we managed to load into a quick play unranked match on Route 66, and basically this match we just had to drag the payload all the way to the end, and I think I was having a bit too much fun on Overwatch 2. That aside though, we were running a pretty consistent 60 frames a second. I experienced absolutely no frame drops, considering that we've completely maxed out the graphics preset on this game. So if you're looking to go into some competitive Overwatch, this is a good PC to go into it with, because I had absolutely no problems in this match. Whack. Did I get to play the game at least? Finally, we have the last game we'll be testing with this rig, and we're going to be officially done with the benchmark section of this video. The final game is obviously going to be Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Now, I would have done Modern Warfare 2 because I feel like that's a much better game to test this on, but Battle.net is already difficult to access as it is, so I'm just not even going to bother with it. God damn! And for the final time, I go back into the settings, make sure all the graphics settings are where they should be. Instead of testing this rig on extreme, I thought it was a bit too extreme, so I decided to just go for ultra. So I made sure that DLSS was on, I made sure ray tracing was on, I made sure that frame generation was on, the whole 1-2, and I jumped in. But not before making sure that the game was actually getting input from my controller and not the keyboard and mouse. The first match I ended up getting into was Infected on Rundown, which I'm not sure why Infected was selected, but apparently I just forgot to uncheck it when I filtered the quick play settings. But we're here now, so might as well get through it. As I'm playing the match, I'm looking over at the top left corner where Afterburner is and checking to see how the frame rate's doing, and it's topping well over 200 frames a second, easily. As I'm playing, I noticed little to no lag spikes in terms of the performance suffering from the high graphics and presets on this game, which is a good thing because it's really smooth gameplay. Like before, I know it doesn't look like that in this particular monitor because this monitor isn't very good. It's a stock HP monitor that's like super old, but trust me, it is really, really good. The gameplay is smooth, it's really responsive, it's an amazing experience all around. Overall, the really good perk of this computer is that all of the games run smoothly. And with DLSS frame generation and ray tracing, it'll look even more stunning on a better monitor than what I have here on this test bench. So now you've gotten a really good glimpse of what this computer can really do. And with that, we're done with the benchmarking section of this video. So what did you end up thinking? This is our second build overall in terms of since we started this business, but I feel like we did a pretty good job overall. We had a good selection of parts, we put it all together, and the computer is even cable managed. And it even took both of us a long time to get that all set up. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I also hope that it gave you some perspective on what's inside this PC build. As of right now, this PC is on Jawa and available for sale at this moment. So the link is going to be in the description. Feel free to just click on it and check it out for yourself. There's going to be a full list of details and even links to the benchmarks we showed here. It was a lot of fun to be able to record this and be able to record our whole building process and put it all together in a video for you all. And we look forward to making more content of this in the future. With more of your support, we'll be able to do greater things and we'll be able to publish it with full transparency. If you like what you saw here today and you want to see more of it, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.